Germany recently celebrated its first ever Veterans Day, an unprecedented act of respect and appreciation in a country that's been reluctant to embrace its armed forces and the idea of militarism in general since World War II because of the legacy of the Nazis. For more, we are joined by DW's Arthur Sullivan live from Berlin. Arthur, what exactly happened on Veterans Day and why is it such a big deal?
So this was an official event organised by the German government to, as you said, celebrate its military veterans. And it's the first celebration of its kind since World War II ended 80 years ago. And that in itself explains why it's such a big deal. So the event itself, there were actually events all over the country. The main one was here in Berlin. There was a civic celebration outside the National Parliament. Now, the aim of this event was to have a festival atmosphere, a stage programme, family-friendly activities, that kind of thing. And there was quite a clear aim on the part of the organisers for it not to be a show of military strength, the kind of typical things we may associate with these kind of military events. There was a veterans village, for example, with stands providing information to army veterans on everything from social clubs they can join to support around healthcare, financial aid, and also information on where to access support in the case of post-traumatic stress disorders. And as I said, the organisers were really keen to avoid those displays of military power, so there was no tanks or fighter jets, no marching troops. This event was primarily part of a process of building respect and normality around Germany's military.
Also, was there much opposition to the event and what are the main reasons?
Well, there were some small protests on the day from those who opposed the idea. That's mostly an alliance of left-wing groups here in Germany who criticise what they see as any glorification of the armed forces. The Left Party, so that's a political party which won almost 10% of the vote in the last election, they're strongly opposed to the idea of any kind of support for militarism. They held a counter-event. But regardless of the size of the protests or who exactly was organising them, it is important to say that there is considerable scepticism across Germany when it comes to the topic of militarism and even anything hinting at it. And the thing is that this event really does mark a historic shift in a nation where anything that could be viewed as a display of militarism was for years seen as taboo. As we've already said, it's all because of World War II and the devastating legacy of Nazi rule and the Holocaust, in which at least 6 million Jews were murdered and many more minorities were persecuted and murdered. So the idea of celebrating the German army and its veterans in the decades after World War II was simply a non-runner. In fact, the term veteran was for years specifically associated with the German army during the period of Nazi rule. And all that history as well, we should say, led to the establishment of a strong pacifist movement here in Germany across the political divide, with opposition to wars of any kind quite common.
All right, we'll leave there, Arthur. Thank you. Arthur Sullivan reporting there from Berlin. Right, moving on to some other news now. Renowned Oxford Street in London will be going traffic-free in a bid to revamp the area. One of the